Okay, we're actually at the point now where this is, you can see the steam coming off of the milk now, or off of the sauce that we have in here, because we've already added the flour. That flour is just going to act like a sponge. It's going to absorb. You can even see when you're stirring it, you can see the consistency of it has changed. It's a little thicker now. It's like a thinner gravy consistency. And what you want though, when you add flour or cornstarch to your, we're not adding cornstarch here, but when you add flour, you want the temperature of this to get up to the point where it actually does boil. That temperature is going to let the flour expand the most throughout this liquid, and it's going to give us the thickness that we're looking for our top layer of the moussaka. Now, as you're doing this, the one thing I do is I like to add a little bit of nutmeg. So we've got our good old nutmeg there. And I'm gonna just add a few little shakes just to give it a little hint of nutmeg. We will use that nutmeg at the very end to top, to put over top of this bechamel sauce. But we just want a little bit in there, and we want it in now so that as the temperature is heating up, it allows that nutmeg to release all that flavor throughout this. So it just gives us a hint of flavor of nutmeg throughout our bechamel. So you can see even as I'm doing this, like the consistency, it's now coating the whisk. It's a lot, it's getting thicker. And again, my temperature now is about a 5 or a 6, and I've been on the stove here now for about, I don't know, about 8 minutes in total, roughly, depending on your stove. You can see here the thickness of this. It's just about done and ready. And in the meantime, let's just see. Yeah, we can see some bubbles, kind of. Not quite yet, but they're trying to come through. The thing is, you don't want to leave it too long. You got to keep stirring this, because it will burn. Again, we got dairy product in here. You got to keep it moving. Okay. Let's just see. Okay, and we're at a boil now. We're kind of at the temperature. So it's at temperature. It's nice. I don't know if you can see that on there, but the thickness, it's holding together. So I'm going to turn my temperature off completely. Just keep stirring a little bit. Keep stirring throughout. And now we're going to remove it completely from the heat and let it sit. I like to stir it just a little after because your pot is still very hot. Just so you don't have anything. Then I'm just going to top off my whisk. Put this, actually we'll leave it where it was over here. That's fine. And that's that for now. Let's start assembling our moussaka. All right, so we're now finally at our point of making and getting this ready for the oven. One thing I did is I grated up about 400 grams of mozzarella cheese. I like the mozzarella. You could do queseri, kefarotieri, Greek cheese if you'd like. You could use cheddar, use whatever you want. We're also going to put, of course, some Greek feta. And of course, you need for this, you do need some Parmesan cheese. So let's go down and check it out. So what we have is we have our eggplant over here. We do have those potatoes that are ready. They're still raw. We have our cheese. Over here on the stove, we've got our bechamel sauce we just made. We have our mixture, our meat mixture with all that wine and eggs, cold eggs that were added in there. And I'm gonna be using one of these baking trays. You can see my hand. Not that that matters, but it's about, I don't know, it's about 4 or 5 inches deep. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna lay our eggplant down. But before we do, take some olive oil, just grease the bottom of that. It's always good to have some oil down there. And what we're gonna do is gonna make our first layer, which is eggplant. So So we take each of these slices, as you can see here, I'm making a layer. I'm overlapping them slightly. It's good too, because when you go to cut into it, you want to make sure that you've got, you know, some eggplant there and that you're not just hitting the bottom. I want to make sure we're overlapping some of these, at least overlap them with one of the pieces. Take off our next layer. Some more eggplant. If you are here done with one layer and you only use 2 eggplants or whatever, that's fine. You don't have to use as much beef as I used. You could go really authentic. You can mix it up and start using lamb. Mix your beef and your lamb, doesn't matter for the next layer. But you know, eggplant, I like a good layer of eggplant in there. It just makes it more of a hearty dish. So again, I'm going around the outsides, making sure this is balanced. You can see that we're getting this. And look at, like, these paper towels are just covered. They've pulled out a lot of moisture, which is exactly what we want, because we don't want that moisture in here. These are just going to, yeah, actually, you know what?